Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game, I play it for a week, and then I talk about it. This week's game is Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. It was released in 1994, developed by Nintendo R&D1 and published by Nintendo. And also there'll be spoilers up ahead, just so you know, but first a little backstory. So the first time I played this game was during the emulation phase, when emulators were kind of a new thing. That being said, it's kind of sad because this is a really good game and I wish I actually grew up with it and play it when I was a kid. So the game starts with a cutscene recapping the previous Metroid games in the series, Metroid and Samus returns for the Game Boy, and a battle between Samus and Mother Brain. So during the cutscene there is this birth of a little larva Metroid and it becomes attached to Samus, which is kind of cute, so it believes it to be her mother, and that will become important later in the game. So Samus takes this Metroid larva to some space colonists, to like scientists, to basically let them study the Metroid. And during the studying, when Samus is away, of course the colony gets attacked by the space pirates. So when Samus arrived at the space colony, everything is quiet and of course the little Metroid larva is missing. So she searches through the facility and she finds the baby larva at last in like a container. And not before long, the dragon-like space pirate Ridley attacks her, and you can't actually win this battle, you just have to deal some damage to him and then he flies away with the larva. And then of course there's a self-destruct sequence and you have to run out of there. A funny thing about this sequence was that I forgot that this game has a run button, so, well, I managed to get out before everything went kablooey anyway, so... So Samus goes to Sebes, which is the homeworld of the space pirate basically. So she lands in the area called Criteria, and it's raining heavily. And this game sets the atmosphere right off the bat because it's almost like you feel that the area is moist, if that makes sense. It feels like you really want to get inside, get out of the cold and the rain. So if you go to the right, there's like a wall with some tiles that looks that they can be broken somehow, but you don't know how yet. And to the left there is like a cave system that awaits you for you to explore. So this game is really cool. It introduces a grid map which makes it a little bit easier to navigate the different areas. And this game also coined the phrase Metroidvania because it was the first of its kind, I believe. So naturally I started to exploring the cave and not for long I hit a wall. You're supposed to have the morph ball upgraded. If you played the previous Metroid games you know exactly what it is. It makes Samus go into like a ball form which basically makes her squeeze through tight areas. So this game is really good at environmental storytelling, but it doesn't really hold your hand, it kind of guides you in the right direction. The game can be broken up a bit further in if you discover like the wall jump mechanic, which is hidden, I believe. It may be hinted at in the manual, but there's certain skips that makes this game kind of interesting, and it's a lot of fun to watch speedrunners actually go through this game because they sequence break and go through areas where you're not supposed to go, and it's kind of a cool concept, more of an open plan situation to discover. So eventually I made it down to the chamber where you fought Mother Brain, and everything is deserted and quiet and you haven't really bumped into any space pirates or anything at this point. So you go down in like an elevator shaft, you end up where you started in the first game, Metroid, and you go to the left and of course the morph ball is there, and there's this creepy eye camera that kind of spots Samus as well. So yeah, that's the thing. And now you can go back and explore the areas which were previously inaccessible. So in this game you collect different power-ups or items, I guess. So you have once you get the missiles, you can collect them from killing enemies, and you get these purple glowing orbs which acts as Samus health. So you have these small like squares which represent an energy tank, and one energy tank can contain 99 purple stuffy things. And once you progress through the game you can earn more energy tank and even reserve tanks. So eventually I find the morph ball bombs expansion, and it's used to explore, getting further into the game, discover hidden goodies. And it also led to the first boss, the Shoso statue. You just fill up on missiles before you go into this boss, and it's really easy. You shoot it in the chest and until it drops. And after beating this boss, the whole area kind of lights up and it's filled with enemies now. And also I picked up my first energy tank and I encountered the first space pirates. So later in the game, these annoying creatures becomes immune to Samus's different weapon upgrades, but you have to be adaptive, and at the end of the game, there's even one that is pretty much immune to everything that you got in your arsenal. So I went deeper down into Brinstar and I found this thorn-infested chambers. And I also find a missile recharging station. And these areas are actually really good. They're marked on your map just as the save rooms. And it makes grinding a whole lot easier. You don't have to grind a whole lot at all. You just have to find these health recharging rooms and missile recharging rooms. And it's really good. It's a good thing that they kind of thought about it, because grinding up the energy tanks in Metroid, the original one, takes a lot. You have to find these areas where you can just kill enemies over and over again, and luckily this game doesn't make it all that bad. So the boss of this area is a plant that kind of sways back and forward. You can either duck in one of the corners, or there's another strat where you actually run with the swaying of the plant, if that makes sense. And the plant also drops these spores. So if you shoot the spores, they reveal the purple orbs, so you can get your health back and missiles. So this boss is really easy. You just have to be patient and avoid him when he's attacking. So after this boss, you find the super missiles, and they can open up the green doors, and they are equivalent to 4 or 5 normal missiles. And I don't think I said it before, but the normal missiles open up the red doors. I also find a charge beam, which lets, well, Samus charge her normal beam, like gun. And if you hold down and charge it and press down on the D-pad, it will release multiple bombs. So there's some hidden things related to the power-ups and the beams. There are different beam combos that will do different things. There's even a thing where Samus will consume missiles and power missiles and bombs and whatnot, and actually heal herself up. I don't really know. It's like a combo with the things she has in her inventory. Eventually I made my way to No Fair, which is really a difficult place in my opinion. So I eventually find the high boots as well, which makes Samus jump higher. And it's actually needed to go deeper into the areas of Sebas. I also find another energy tank and the spacer. And the spacer is kind of a cool gun because it shoots like a spread or like 3 beams at once. So after some more exploring, it's now time to fight Kraid, the boss. So right before the boss room, there is a hidden area right above where you can restock on missile and on health. So that's really good. So when you enter the room, Kraid is really huge and you just have to pump him full of missiles to move on. And after beating Kraid, you get access to the Varia suit, which makes you go through the No Fair area where it's a lot of heat because it's a volcanic ecosystem, which is a kind of cool concept. I think the Varia suit also reduced the damage you take from normal enemies. I'm not sure, but maybe. And also while exploring the volcanic area, I found the wave beam, which is a gun that makes you shoot through walls. Also down here you will find a speed boost, which is a thing that makes you run faster, and you're forced to use it to escape the rising lava. So down here you will also face Crocomire. I almost said Quagmire, but yeah, whatever. So I think this boss is optional, but the way you defeat him is to shoot him in when you open his mouth with the charge beam, and then you will slowly back into the lava and die a gruesome death. So there's you think he's dead and you're supposed to exit the stage, and his skeleton kind of goes through the wall and it crumbles down. It's kind of like a creepy thing. Also nearby you will find the power bombs, which make Samus open the yellow doors. You will eventually find the grappling beam, which is used to hang from tiles in the ceiling, and even later in the game you find the ice beam, which is more or less the most useful gun upgrade because it frees enemies and makes them into platforms, and it has a really crispy sound as well. I like that. So I'll try not to spoil too much. So later in the game there's some more exploring and you fight some cool bosses, and you find the spring ball upgrade, which makes you jump in morph ball mode, the screw attack, the space jump, and the X-ray scope. And the X-ray scope reveals hidden areas or pathways in the walls and stuff. It's optional as well. You don't have to have it to complete the game, but it's a cool little thing. So gameplay. Follow Samus Aran on an adventure to find the baby, the Metroid larva, and beat the bad guys in the end, the space pirates. Control. The D-pad moves Samus around. The X is the fire button, the A button is jump, and the B button is run. So if you press down on the D-pad you duck, or you go down into morph ball mode. The R trigger will tilt your arm cannon 45 degrees upwards, and the L button, the left trigger, will tilt it down 45 degrees. It's actually useful when you're climbing shafts and shooting at enemies, because you couldn't do that in the previous Metroid games. Graphics. This game looks really good. The detail on the sprites on the enemies and Samus are really detailed, really good. And every area in the game has a different color code. So if you're down in No Fair, there's a lot of volcanic activity and lava and stuff, and it really fits the ecosystem. And once you're in the other areas. There's an area that's full of mushrooms. It's like an area between two zones, if that makes sense. And there's an area where there's this, like, not purple but pink kind of foam, and it looks, I imagine it feels sticky, and it's kind of cool. And there's this area where the thorn area with the swaying boss with spores and everything. So this game has a lot of different environments, a lot of different vibes, and the music changes also in the different zones that you go into. So I really like the details. And there's this other area, I'm talking my head off, but okay, there's this area where there's like a ghost ship or like a crash ship, and it's when you get there in the beginning, everything is powered down, so you need to find like the power switch, and once you turn on the power or whatever, it lights up and it becomes a whole different kind of vibe to it. Sound and music. Kenji Yamato and Minako Hamano made the music for this game, and it's really an ambient soundtrack which sets the vibe. This kind of foreboding kind of vibe when you're exploring an unknown area, and sometimes the vibe is actually kind of happy and upbeat once you get all the upgrades and you feel kind of awesome. So there's a good balance in the mix as well, I think. Easter egg, secrets and glitches. So there's a thing in this game called a wall jump, and it's used by speedrunners and the like to do sequence skippings during speedruns. So it's a lot of finicky to pull it off, but once you learn how to do it, you can go to areas that you previously couldn't reach. So this is actually tied to one of the endings, I guess. There's at the beginning of the stage, or when the game starts in Criteria, there is this chamber where there are some animal bodies, and these animal bodies can be saved at the end of everything when everything is about to go kablooey, because everything explodes in this game apparently. So if you save the animals, there's a little ending. It differs a little bit, but not much. So this is a funny meme during the speedrunners event. I think I watched Games Done Quick, where I kind of laughed because the speedrunners don't want to save the animals because there's they lose time by doing so. So there's always this poll in chat on Twitch where save the animals or don't save the animals. And I think that's kind of funny. But yeah, in conclusion, I wrote, yes, play it. It's a classic. This game oozes with atmosphere, and it's good music and great sprite detail. And it's the game that pioneered or coined the phrase Metroidvania. As I said before, I'm not a hardcore gamer, but I found this game to be really fun. It's really challenging it at some parts, and I blame that to me not growing up and playing it as much as anyone that owned a Super Nintendo, I guess. But the game is fair nonetheless. And I mean, someone actually said that this was like the best game that was ever made. I don't fully agree with that, but it's probably one of the better games on the Super Nintendo, or at least the best game in 1994. So yeah, go play it. What are you waiting for? So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.